what you need in the building. So we're going to be talking about primarily. We're going to be talking about Kambos versus Hughes tonight. Kambos versus Hughes. That fight's about to happen very soon. Maybe actually that fight will be happening in the next 20 minutes, right? So we'll discuss that. Also, an upcoming fight, I believe this week, Tuesday morning, somewhere around 4 something. In the morning would be another fight that will happen. Stephen Fulton versus Inoue. Um, um, all right, so we're looking at Fulton versus Inoue. We're looking at a couple other things here. Let me just check and see that everything's all right here first. Okay. All right, so we'll look at Stephen Fulton versus Inoue. That fight that's upcoming. We'll also talk about Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Of course, some things also ended up being in the news concerning Fulton versus Inoue. So we want to talk about that. Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. We'll be talking about that, as well as we were looking at Devin Haney and the many options he has now on the table, as well as Tank versus Chris Colbert. That's a fight that's being mentioned, a possible opponent for Gervonta Tank Davis. If you want to jump on here, you don't just want to be in the chat, but you actually want to join in here and chat with me on my channel, you can feel free to do so. There is the link. The link is in the chat section, and that's the link right now you're looking at on the screen. I am what you need. You are looking at my channel. I just want to share a piece of scripture with you guys. It is said, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Let's get into it. So, Kambos versus Maxie Hughes is going to happen tonight. When I looked at Maxie Hughes, he looked pretty strong and everything. But just looking at his boxing style, he's defensively responsible to the most part. Keeps a high guard. Sort of boxes using distance control. He has a nice little jab. He attacks. His offense is interesting. Sometimes he throws he's a southpaw, by the way. He throws sometimes he throws like a nice left uppercut up the center. Throws nice body shots. Good combination. All around a decent boxer, a good boxer. But the thing with Kambos is very explosive, a very explosive fighter. And even though Maxie Hughes, he's decent with controlling range, and the question will be, can Kambos close the distance on him? And Maxie Hughes is dismissive of Kambos. I looked at it in the weighing. I do believe that Kambos is a sharper, quicker fighter. Of course, Kambos is more of a firefighter, but if you don't control Kambos with the jab, and you have to have a really good jab, a really good rhythm, he's going to wreak havoc on you, because Kambos is that kind of fighter. Some of his punches are wide, but he's calculated. He's a very good counter puncher. And so I think that by and large, I think Kambos is going to win this one. I don't know if it's going to be a tight fight, but he's going to make Maxie Hughes fight, because Kambos is going to make Maxie Hughes fight. The question is, can Maxie Hughes hold him off long enough? Maxie Hughes is a big lightweight. From what I've seen in the weigh-ins, he's pretty strong, like I said before. But I do think that Kambos should be able to get the victory over him. I think he's sharper than Maxie Hughes. I think he's also more explosive than Maxie Hughes. I think those two things are important. I know it's athletics we're talking about here instead of, but sometimes that makes a big difference, because Kambos is, does also throw combinations and so on. But I think also that sometimes Maxie Hughes will, of course, try to adjust distance to deal with that. But I think Kambos is going to pressure him. Once Kambos puts enough intelligent pressure on Maxie Hughes, he can close the distance, doubling up his jab, tripling up his jab, that kind of thing, to get into range. Because that's something that Kambos does. He comes off his jab pretty sharply, and also he counters pretty sharply off his jab. So it would be nice to see how he overcomes the reach advantage that Hughes will have, the height advantage, and the size advantage that Hughes will have. So we'll see how he does that. But I do think that Kambos should beat Maxie Hughes tonight. Is it going to be an easy task? Not as easy as people think. Maxie Hughes, like I said before, he's all around a really solid fighter. He got good defense. He has a nice high guard. He steps back. He has good distance control. So you can't close the distance on him that easily. However, he does pause and reset, and he does look like if he's aggressive, he'll do as if he's coming aggressively to you, and then he back off. So in the moments where he's backing off, that's where Kambos could really wage his attack. And when he's attacking, in between those shots, Kambos can catch him in between the shots. So it's something like that. Even though, again, like I said before, Max uses defensively responsible. If he falls in, he clinches. If he's attacking, he does dip low and get underneath shots. So these are all things Kambos will have to deal with, and he'll have to figure out how to make adjustments to them to deal with Max Hughes. Max Hughes is not an easy opponent because of the style he employs. Doesn't have one hitter quitter power. But I think the explosiveness of Kambos may be the thing that is the deciding factor in this, I believe. Kambos also has a better tank. I think Kambos is generally more well-conditioned. But then again, Maxie Hughes, because he's coming across to the U.S. and also because Maxie Hughes is getting this huge opportunity, I think he'll rise to the challenge, which means that Maxie Hughes is going to make this fight tough for Kambos. I really, truly believe that. He's going to bring his A game. He's going to raise his game, the level of his game that he's had so far. So expect Maxie Hughes to bring good opposition. I think, but all in all, in the end, I think Kambos is going to triumph over him. It may be by majority decision, it may be by split decision, but I think Kambos is going to win. So we'll see. Now, Stephen Fulton versus Inoue Inoue. So a lot of people, including Paulie Malignaggi, they believe that Inoue Inoue would win because pound for pound #1 fighter on the pound for pound list and so on and so on. And so on. Now I know he's a good fighter, but even Nonito Donaire, when I was listening to Nonito Donaire, he said the very same thing I said, which is that once you close the distance on Inoue's power comes at the end of his punch. Same thing I said, Nonito Donaire said. So Inoue has to loop punches. Even his left hook, his trademark punches are his straight right and his left hook, right? His left hook to the body, primarily, is what he catches you with, and his straight right. The thing with Inoue is, and even against Nonito Donaire, the first time we saw that Nonito Donaire could offset some of Inoue's power, and also he could take some of Inoue's power because Donaire was that much bigger. And Stephen Fulton is that much bigger than Inoue. Again, the thing about it, though, is Inoue's power is at the end of his punch. That means he has to have extension, even if he has to create space to make that extension. And as Fulton even said when he was speaking to Fight Hype, I forgot what the guy's name is. If you guys know the guy's name, please do leave it in the comments. But when he was talking to the guy in Fight Hype, he said that he will close the distance and pressure Inoue as well and use his size and his body mass against Inoue. So I do think Stephen Fulton's thinking about that. Now, with respect to the wraps that Inoue has on that Stephen Fulton's coach was speaking about today, and that they're not going to take the fight if something is not done about Inoue's wraps. I believe another channel I saw, I can't remember what the channel's name is exactly. I can see the guy, but I can't tell you his name, his channel, was commenting on this and saying that he was of the opinion, at least from sources, that that's not a big issue. But it is a big issue because when you wrap the glove, whether you're going over the knuckles or not, when you wrap with extra tape on this surface of the hand, this part of the hand, this flat surface of the hand, if you wrap a lot of tape, it's going to raise this surface here so that when you put the gauze around here, it'll actually increase the knuckle size. Okay, so this is what they're talking about, and they're not willing to engage in a fight where somebody has an unfair advantage. So this was something that they were talking about with Inoue, and this is all for the health of the fighters. It's not health and safety, particularly of his fighter, Stephen Fulton. It's not about whether Fulton wins or loses. It's about the health and safety of the fighter. So he was looking out for that. In true Philly fashion, following after Prince Nassim Hamed, they talk about the wraps. Now, wraps and gloves always is an issue before a fight, so I think that issue will be resolved. I'm pretty sure it will be. But nonetheless, Fulton versus Inoue, it's clear that Fulton's strategy Fulton has the longer reach. Fulton is taller. Fulton is bigger, and Fulton is also I wouldn't be surprised physically stronger than Inoue. I wouldn't be surprised about it. Now, the thing about it is to use your size. Yes, you can use your size in terms of reach and length and height, meaning you can stay a further distance away from Inoue. But if you want to wear out your opponent, there are ways to wear out your opponent without punching, right? And one of the things in using your size against your opponent is literally using your body weight and your strength against them. Even in clinches, you make them work. So I do expect Fulton to do something like that, and also fight on the inside as well. And as Donaire was saying, and as I assume Fulton will try to do, he will smother, seek to smother Inoue's offense, or tie him up, or lock down his offense. So once he gets within Inoue's reach and inside of the extension of his punch, he does loop. He's fast, but he loops his left hook. So if you're within the distance and he can't get the distance, to throw the left hook, he's not going to be able to throw it. So I can see Fulton, what fighters like Fulton, they take away your best attributes. So they look for your best attributes. Oh, this is what you do. Okay. And then they will bait you into using your best attributes, and then they'll counter you. So I think Fulton is going to use an approach something like that. He's either going to be deep in the pocket against Inoue, fighting on the inside and roughing him up, or he's going to be way on the outside where his reach is his advantage. I don't expect him to be engaging with Inoue at mid-range. At mid-range, where Inoue can hit him and he can hit Inoue in the pocket, Inoue is going to shine best. So it's almost like a educated guess at fighting a sort of Pacquiao-like, Lomachenko-like fighter. Lomachenko thrives best at mid-range. Inoue thrives best at mid-range. Well, in this case, because Fulton has the longer reach. But deep in the pocket and also fighting from the outside, I think Fulton's going to have the advantage there. And so he may begin immediately off of stick, getting to the pocket to rough up Inoue, or he may stay on the outside and box him a bit. I don't think he's going to stay on the outside and box him a bit. I think he's going to try and establish immediately that he's the bigger fighter and he's the stronger fighter. So I expect him to go to the pocket. He's going to use his stick and everything and jab from the outside, but he's going to move to the inside. And then again, body checking, framing, clinching and pivoting your opponent, just body controlling your opponent. These are the things that Fulton's going to be doing. There's going to be a battle of the jabs, that sort of thing. So I do expect Fulton, and then there's certain veteran moves I wouldn't even speak about right now that Fulton can implement, which Inoue doesn't know anything about, I'm pretty sure. And those veteran moves really guarantee Fulton lining up Inoue in the right positions and so on like that. So Fulton's going to teach. Inoue's going to get schooled by Fulton. I truly believe. That's why I said I didn't even talk about half the boxing that Fulton knows, and we've seen in Fulton's fights. I haven't even talked about half the boxing. Power doesn't mean anything if you can't use it, and Fulton's going to cripple Inoue so he can't use his power like he wants to. He'll have to get used a little bit to Inoue's speed. He'll have to see how hard he punches. Of course, he's not going to let Inoue punch him. He's going to let him punch his guard or something like that, and he'll find out how hard Inoue punches and that kind of thing. So you can be aware that Fulton is more prepared for Inoue in terms of he's actually been in fights with guys who have power, probably not exactly like Inoue's, but power. He's been with heavy punches, and because of that, and because he's in the weight class above, I assume that he would have seen or felt power like what Inoue might bring to the table. What I think the problem with Inoue's end is Inoue hasn't faced anything like Fulton. So this is going to be a very new experience for him and a good learning experience for him. And why Fulton even went to Japan and just jumped, at the opportunity to go to Japan is because he knows he can beat Inoue. He pretty much knows that. He hasn't faced Inoue yet, so he can't really assess him like that. but just based on what he knows in boxing, he knows he's pretty much ahead of the curve that he knew. Again, boxing is all about knowledge, being able to apply that knowledge. And so, like I said before, I think Stephen Fulton is definitely going to win this fight hands down, and then they'll have to rank him pretty highly. Those people picking Inoue, I understand why. He's sharp, he's fast, he's quick, he's smart a bit, he's a little bit slick, you know, but mostly he's sharp, he's fast, and he's powerful. So usually people get carried away with power, and that's never a good thing, right? But we'll see how the fight pans out in Japan, and see how events unfold with Fulton's camp and with Inoue's camp and the agreements about how these wrappings will happen on their hands. So let's look up Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Well, I was looking at the workouts. I believe it was yesterday and today, and I left a very quick little synopsis of things. I thought that Errol looked very, very strong. Just looking at his body, very, very strong. He also seemed very, very powerful, the stuff that he was punching. And this is very interesting because he's losing weight. So I've never seen him in better shape than he has been there. People were talking about he's a bit stiff. Well, guess what? He's just warming up. So he's going to be stiff. It's not like he was training before. Maybe he came from taking a rest and he got up for the media workout and went out to do the media workout. So he's not super sharp. He started picking up the tempo. He started warming up as stuff was going along. But he is a significantly bigger fighter than Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is lighter. He's quicker. He's sharper. Is he sharper? Well, yeah, I guess so in the workout. Again, it's just a workout. It's just a media workout. This is not exactly what they're doing. So it doesn't really reveal a whole lot. It's clear Terrence is not trying to stand in front of Errol. So y'all could forget about that idea. From what I saw in his workout, he's looking to step around Errol as much as he can, get different angles on Errol, try to keep Errol changing direction, not letting Errol set, not letting Errol plant to throw, which is a very good plan. Errol, you can see he's working on his power and being as powerful as possible. But Errol is extremely strong, so and his defense looks very tight. He wasn't going. I could notice Errol wasn't working on speed. He was just staying relaxed, just doing what he needed to do. Again, speed is not everything in boxing. Even though speed can work to your favor, you have to have good timing or have your opponent's timing for your speed to actually work. So all of these things you have to bear in mind when you look at Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. So people are saying, well, they're leaning towards Errol Spence, and some people are leaning towards Terrence Crawford. I'm going to be honest with you. Probably my audience leans towards Errol Spence because he thinks Errol Spence is bigger. As we all know, that almost means absolutely nothing if the other guy is much quicker than you. If he can get into position before you, it doesn't really matter. So I really can't say that that's it. The thing about this fight is there's so many variables involved in it that, like I said before, I'm not picking anybody in this fight. I'm sorry. You guys can go ahead and pick. I'm not picking nobody. I'm just going to watch it. I will be commentating on it. Hopefully I can get another phone so I can watch it and commentate on it to you guys live, so you guys can hear my commentary on that fight. It should be great. Moving on to the next topic, which is Haney and the many options Haney has. Now, Teofimo Lopez is calling out Haney. So we have Shakur Stevenson, who Haney has set back a offer to. We have Regis Prograis, who Devin Haney is trying to be the mandatory for the WBC title. And we heard that Gervonta Tank Davis sent a proposal, which was debunked by Bill Haney. Bill Haney said Tank didn't. They haven't received anything like that, but that would be nice if he would have done something. And then the last person in the list is Teofimo Lopez, who is also offering to face Devin Haney. So Devin Haney, all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, is the hottest thing out there, and everybody wants to face Devin Haney, which is really great for him because before the Lomachenko fight and before he was undisputed, nobody wanted to face Devin Haney. All of a sudden now, we've got 4 different people. We got well, at least mention of Tank. I don't think they put an offer on the table, but there's some talk about Tank having offered Devin Haney to face him. We have Devin Shakur has put in his mandatory. He has actually pulled it. So Devin Haney has sent an offer to him. So he's one that's live. Devin Haney also has made himself a mandatory to Regis Prograis. Of course, Bill Haney's pursuing that right now. And then Teofimo Lopez now has come out of the clear blue sky, and he wants to face Devin Haney. This is great for Devin Haney. This puts him in the driver's seat, really. He's now a commodity out there. And that's interesting. I can't lie to you. I saw on Twitter Raleigh Romero. He was in some interview of some kind, and he was saying that Devin Haney beat Lomachenko, and he explained how. He said Lomachenko had great 10th round, great 11th round, some great moments in the fight, but by and large, the rest of the fight was won by Devin Haney, which was amazing to hear Raleigh Romero say because he doesn't like Devin Haney. So it was interesting to hear him say that. Of course, tongue-in-cheek, he said Devin Haney don't even have a good body punch. He's not really a power puncher, but Devin Haney did hurt Lomachenko in round 9 to the body, and Lomachenko flinched. He stopped throwing. So this is his truth. But Devin Haney is now a commodity out there. We also have some other great fighters who we have to look out for, young, upcoming fighters. I'm not going to say they're great, but you know what I mean. Potentially great fighters. And we have Keyshawn Davis. We have Frank Martin, we have Pitbull Cruz. So, the lightweight division is always going to stay hot. Now George Kambos is fighting tonight against Maxie Hughes. So, we have Lomachenko still in there. You never know. He might get another payday. Who knows? So it's very interesting. And it's also interesting to see if Devin Haney will vacate or if he will face Shakur Stevenson. That's the guy that activated his mandatory. Or if he does vacate, who's he going to face at 140? So that's all very interesting. Billy Haney's saying that they're pursuing the Regis Prograis fight, but you just never know, man. You never know how things could pan out for Devin Haney. So good for him. Tank versus Chris Colbert it talks about that fight. I don't know if it's a reality, if it's really going to happen, because Tank just came out of prison. And they're talking about this fight for, I believe it is later on in the year. How do you guys feel about this? Leave your comments in the comment section about Tank facing Chris Colbert. Chris Colbert didn't look good at lightweight in his last fight that he just got by. So I don't know. I always like to see people face people who are coming off spectacular wins, convincing wins. Tank versus Chris Colbert. Chris Colbert is not known as a puncher. He's coming up from a lower division. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't particularly like this fight because, again, Tank needs to face the best. If it's not Devin Haney, then why not let it be Shakur Stevenson? Why are you not facing the best? You have not, for any time in your entire lightweight career so far, faced anybody that's the best. And you're not a world champion, which leads me to another topic I want to just talk about. I'm going to take about 30 minutes here. We're 23 minutes, 18 seconds in. I thought boxing was about the best facing the best. And of late, we've been seeing some real buffoonery. People say, oh, these young boxers, they fall in Floyd Mayweather. You can't say that. You can't say that when Floyd Mayweather was facing world champions, man. World champions. That means the best people. Okay? Who has Tank faced as a world champion, present world champion? Who has he faced at lightweight? Nobody. Okay? No one. He's got a fake belt from facing Gamboa. Okay? He's not a world champion at lightweight. Okay? The world champion is Devin Haney. Right? And we hear rumors that Tank has made an offer to Devin Haney, but we have nothing substantial, and it has not been confirmed by Bill Haney. Meaning Tank is not even thinking about Devin Haney. He's not even thinking of facing the best fighter in his division. You know what I mean? The guy is disappointing. I'm not going to lie to you. He's a sideshow for me. People tout him very highly and stuff, but he's not challenged. He's not trying to face the best. Now, Floyd Mayweather, he faced the best. He literally faced the best. He actually faced world champions at welterweight. Whoever was the world champion, he was facing that guy. Tank's not doing that. And so I can't give him any props. He's a cash cow. He can call himself the cash cow, no problem. But you ain't doing nothing. You ain't trying to be in this thing to win it. You in this thing to make money, and that's it. And so I don't really consider Tank very highly. He has a lot of skills and everything, but just because he's knocking out people, who is he knocking out? Ryan Garcia? Ryan Garcia was one of the weakest of the best fighters in that division, and everybody knew that. He had defensive flaws, he had defensive errors, right? Nobody had to think twice about Ryan Garcia versus Tank. Who is going to win? You got to think twice when you think of Shakur versus Tank, when you think of Devin versus Tank, when you think of Loma versus Tank. You have to think twice. Some dumb people who are not thinking about boxing. After what we just saw of Loma, you can't say that Tank's going to knock out Loma. You can't say that, right? You see the footwork, the angles, and everything. Loma's, slowing down. He's not as continuous and relentless as he used to be. But the point is, Loma give anybody problems. At lightweight, at super featherweight, wherever. He gives everybody problems, okay? Because he's a calculated fighter. Shakur Stevenson gives everybody problems. Devin Haney gives these are tough fights. And Tank is not trying to get these fights. He's not trying to be the best. He's not trying to fight for the best. He's just interested in putting on a show. That's all Tank is. Come on now. Y'all, we got to be real now, right? It's not that I hate Tank or anything. But all of this hype around Tank, and he ain't facing nobody. What I mean by that is, show me a top 5 fighter that Tank has faced at lightweight. I'll wait. Let me tell you the top 5 fighters, by the way. It's Devin Haney, George Kambos, Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, right? Then it's Tank, okay? That's the 5 people. That's the top 5 people in the lightweight division. So, not in no specific order, okay? What top 5 fighter has he faced? None, okay? He didn't face a top 5 fighter at super lightweight. And he did face a top 5 fighter at super featherweight, but how many? You get what I'm saying? Pedraza and Santa Cruz, that's it. He ain't got nobody else. So in his entire career, he's faced 2 top 5 fighters? Seriously? I'm just saying. All right. So until Tank is willing to put himself into the equation, I hear his team talking and everything, but he's not ready for that. He's out here to make money. All right. Oh, there's Ryan Garcia too. I think he was a top 5 fighter. So Ryan Garcia, you had Leo Santa Cruz, and you had Jose Pedraza, right? That's it. 3 in his entire fucking career. Now, how many top 5 fighters has Devin Haney faced in his short career as world champion? Go ahead. Check the numbers. Right? Check the numbers. You got Lomachenko. You got Kambos. He got 2 already. He's not been world champion as long as Tank. Tank's been world champion for like 5-6 years now. Okay? Devin Haney's been world champion for like 2-3 years now. All right? Shakur Stevens, let's see if he really takes up this offer. Let's see if he will take it. So that we'll know what's happening with Devin Haney next, depending on the offers by Shakur Stevenson and what happens with Regis Prograis. It looks like they're moving forward with Regis Prograis, but let's just see what happens with Shakur. If Shakur does not accept the amount that Devin Haney is offering him, then he was just about cap. He was just full of shit, right? He was wasting Devin Haney's time. And time is something you can't waste at this point in time. All right? But Devin Haney has obliged him. It looks like the next fight for Devin Haney may be Regis Prograis, but we don't know. Boxing's a sport where, you have to watch to see what really is going on. And you have to, everything's evolving, so you keep your options open. So, yeah, having that fight with Shakur, making sure that he can nail that fight down. You never know which fight might come through. It's either Shakur, it could be Regis Prograis, it could be Teofimo Lopez. So you keep all your options open to see what actually lands for you. So that's the smart thing that Devin is doing. All right, people, that's it for me. I am what you need. I hope you guys have a blessed night. Enjoy the fights tonight. I'm going to catch you guys later. Keyshawn Davis is also fighting tonight, as well as, I believe, somebody else. I can't remember who. This is Top Rank Boxing. It's on ESPN. On ESPN Plus, you guys can get a fight for Stephen Fulton versus Inoue. All right. So y'all go check out ESPN Plus with the fight Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. That'll be offered on pay-per-view via Showtime. So if you gotta get a Showtime subscription, or if you don't have the money, get into a fight party, get a couple of your friends together, and do it on pay-per-view, on demand. Get on demand, somebody who has on demand, and you guys raise the money together and go ahead and watch the fight. Don't miss this fight. This is the fight to see. Stephen Fulton versus Inoue. Now, they were talking about pound for pound #1 fighters in the world. Inouye's high up the pound for pound list. What happens if Stephen Fulton beats Inoue? Well, this is what happens. He becomes a pound for pound fighter. Does he take Inouye's place? Not necessarily, but it does move him up the pound for pound list. Some people are saying, I was listening to, I forgot what his name is for Fight Hype, but he was saying, well, wouldn't that make you #2 pound for pound fighter if you were to beat Inoue? And maybe Crawford versus Spence, the #1. And he was agreeing, but I don't agree, because let me see explain. Fulton's not even on the pound for pound list right now, right? So, or maybe he is in the lower part of the pound for pound list, the bottom 10, right? The thing about it is, you can't move from the bottom 10 to #2 or #1. It don't work like that. You have to still put in work. Now, if he beats, a top 5 pound for pound fighter, like Errol Spence beat Mikey Garcia, who was a pound for pound fighter, right? That helped Errol Spence to move up the pound for pound list. You know what I mean? So by beating pound for pound fighters, obviously it moves you up the pound for pound list if you weren't there already. So that's what I think with Fulton. I think, though, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, I do believe whoever wins that fight is definitely going to be the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world. However, they may have competition. There are 2 other fights, but one is not crystallized at all. But there's 2 other fights where the person who wins that fight, and it's 2 possible undisputed fights, right? The first undisputed fight, which is going to happen, is going to be Jermell Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez. And I seriously believe if Jermell Charlo beats Canelo Alvarez, I think he becomes the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, because there's 2 very important things to understand. One, he's jumping up 2 weight classes to do that for undisputed, and 2, he's going to be 2-time undisputed. Like, now, if Errol Spence beats Terrence Crawford, he'll only be 1-time undisputed, right? Crawford will be 1-time undisputed. If Crawford was to beat Errol Spence, he'd be 2-time undisputed, and that would give a lot of competition to Jermell Charlo. But the fact that Jermell Charlo would jump up 2 divisions to face Canelo Alvarez, who's already the cash cow and the face of one of the faces of boxing, and then on top of that, he's beating this guy who has beaten a wealth of names, is a future Hall of Famer and all that. That kind of goes a little bit further than just 2 undefeated fighters, southpaws, facing each other and beating each other, right? Errol Spence's resume is great, but it's nothing like Canelo's, right? So, I think Jermell, even though I don't think Jermell would be a better fighter. I don't know if he's a better fighter than Crawford, to be honest with you. But if he would have pulled that off somehow, some way, Jermell Charlo, I think, would be my #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. I'm not gonna play with y'all, right? However, there's another one, Alexander Usyk. He could also be a 2-time, 2-divisional, undisputed champion, and that's, again, pretty much unheard of. It's particularly coming up from cruiserweight and then becoming heavyweight champion. Now, the only other person who has done something like that is like Evander Holyfield. He was one of those guys. And Evander Holyfield, if I'm not mistaken, was pound for pound #1 fighter in the world at a certain time. I think it was a couple of months. It wasn't very long. But the point is, for Alexander Usyk to do it in the 4-belt era, he would be the first heavyweight to be undisputed, 1, so he'd make history that way. And then 2, he would also be a 2-time, 2-divisional undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, which is, again, a first. Right, so there's a lot of crazy stuff that could happen, right? So I'm just saying that would be your pound for pound top guys we're talking about, and that Fulton beating Inoue would be cool, but it's like Inoue he was formerly undisputed at the division below, but he wouldn't be like a 2-time undisputed champion and all that kind of stuff. The accolades kind of add up. But Fulton will be there on the pound for pound list if he's not a pound for pound fighter right now. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys. I am what you need. I spent 5 minutes too late. I'm gonna catch you guys later. You guys can always check this out. Don't forget, there are a couple of things I need to leave with you guys. You can always donate to my channel. It's in the description of this stream. If you can see the description of the stream right now, and when the stream is posted, you should see it in the description as well. I'm gonna catch you guys later. What you need. Out.